because, like I said, we're trying something new tonight in order to get the message out on a larger platform. I'm excited to be here. It is something extremely, important to me that people get informed. So as they come in on your platform or they come in on the Facebook Live, I mean, right now there should be 1,000 people on this Facebook Live, but we'll get there. We'll get there. That's all right. We'll get there. But over the course of the next 30 plus minutes, we're gonna try to keep this to a about 30 to 45 minutes. I think for people to be able to digest what they're about to hear, but not more, not just what they're about to hear, but what they're about to see. Because I always say that documentation beats conversation, and the fastest way to get someone to the finish line of financial freedom from the system of debt is to move all of the doubt. And it's just something you can't do verbally, because we've all been taught growing up as children a particular path that we should take, right? And not saying that it was a bad path or the right path or the wrong path, but I believe that the direction towards prosperity and financial freedom has shifted, and maybe it hasn't even shifted. we were never taught this information, so it may have always been the same, but because they don't teach it to the masses, to the everyday hardworking poor and middle class family, when we discover this information, we think we discover something new. But yet, I'm going to prove that the wealthy in this country have known this for multiple centuries of time. So anytime that I reference anything in reference to taxes tonight, is going to come directly from these folks right here over at the IRS website. Because again, I believe that documentation beats conversation, and everything in between is just assumptions. So I want to encourage everybody to grab a pen and a paper, keep an open mind, leave all of what you may think, believe, or have thought at the door, and you can pick it up at the end of this presentation. But I also want some interaction. So if the folks that you have on your platform, during this presentation, if they have questions, please type those questions in and see if we can get those questions answered. Now, we'll say this before we get started. Everything is not meant for social media, okay? Because the elite wealthy does not want you to be financially informed. If they did, they would require you to take a class in school to get financially educated. So we'll just leave that right there. So you're going to go ahead and moderate your side. I'll moderate the Facebook Live. I've got the CFO, even though she had some major dental work done today, and she's not feeling too well. She's on the live stream as well, so she'll make sure that platform stays intact.
I'm going to ask everyone who's coming in on the WebEx side to please mute your phones, but also in your systems, you can type in the chat. If you have questions, there's a chat window that's there. You can open that chat window and type your questions in there. I'll be monitoring those.
Okay, so I'm ready to get started. You ready to get rock and rolling?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay, so again, guys, I want, for those of you that are on Facebook Live to join us, guys, go ahead and share this information. I want to first of all, send my gratitude out for this young man for inviting me on this platform to share some information with you guys tonight that hopefully will change your life. See, I know the information will change your life, but what I don't know is if you're ready to receive and apply the information. I make a statement all the time that knowledge is power, but only if you apply it. but you can only apply the knowledge if someone is willing to provide it. And so tonight, we're here willing to provide you some knowledge and hope that you will apply it to change your life financially. And so, Yasmin, I'm going to go ahead and let you steer from your side of the world, because you have folks on your platform. And, my goal is to give the folks what they are looking for. But remember, guys, that everything is not meant for social media. Okay? And so I'm on the IRS website on my side of the screen. And we're going to talk a little bit about taxes. We're not going to get into the great details of the how-tos, because there's people on here from many walks of lives. We've got married couples, got single individuals, we got parents that have children. Some people are making $50,000 a year. Some are making 60, 70, 80, 100,000. Some people are on unemployment. Some people are on disability. And so I'm going to try to fray away from being very specific with information, but I do want to make sure that I give you enough that if you want to learn more, then you'll reach out to myself or Yasmin, and we'll definitely be able to get that information to you. I do want to touch bases on the power and the necessity of having a home-based business. So, wherever you want to start with that, I'm ready to go.
All right. What I'd like to do, and one of the things that always impresses me about the information that you give, and I think that's the first thing, and that's something that everyone can benefit from, and that is that a lot of the money that they're leaving on the table is not necessarily required for them to leave it there. And I'm sure they would be better off with that money in their pocket, because we're all, trying to make the best of the situation. Many of us are being taxed between 30 to 40% or even more of our income before we even see it. And then we have that tax that we get that's on top of the tax when we go buy something, the sales tax. And believe it or not, even on top of that, the products that we buy, many times they've already added a tax that's on top of that increases the price. So when we look at what we're getting in terms of the benefit of the money that we are making, many of us, we say, okay, I'm making 100,000. You're bringing home, you're actually making, by the time they get through with you, about 55,000. And even that is in depreciating dollars, that the longer you keep them, the less they purchase. And so, and then many of us are saving in 401ks. Again, there's another trap, because we have the 401ks. Again, the longer you save that money, the less it buys. And not only that, you're basically at a crap table when you're saving in a 401k. We're paying into a Social Security system that many of us may not even be able to collect that money from, because we're paying for those people who are receiving today. There's no account set up. So, there's a lot of things there that, we can touch on in terms of enlightening people. And, I love that. And I looked up that quote of Harriet Tubman. Beautiful. I use it all the time, in that she said that I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more had they only known that they were slaves. And so many of us, we don't understand what's happening. We don't see. We're looking at the illusion, but the reality escapes us. And what we're trying to do today is to open up the people's eyes to the reality of the tax system and how it can work in favor of them. When I was in the Marine Corps, I got out in 1977. I went in 73. One of the things I learned, the Uniform Code of Military Justice can work for you or against you. And I found that that's with all laws. If you know the law, it can work in your favor. But if you don't know the law, then you will be a victim of your ignorance. And so we want to remove the ignorance from the masses. And that's why we set this up. My major aim is to share information that will free the minds and free the wallets of people, so that they don't be victims where they could be victors, right. So that they don't suffer in the impending economic crisis that is due to come. They always come. The crisis come, and we lose much of what we're trying to save. I know people who have lost over $100,000 in the last two economic crises from their 401ks alone. not mentioning the people who took loans out on property, on houses, and that they're underwater. They paid $250 or $300, $400,000 for a house that's worth a third or half of what they paid for it. So now they're locked into an economic system. And the other thing that we have to understand is that the majority of people could escape. They could avoid those situations if they only had information.
The Bible says, I love this saying. Like I don't go to church every Sunday, but we might go to church tonight, okay? I don't care what your spiritual background is, what your educational level is. Doesn't matter what you did in the past. Doesn't predict what. It has no bearing on your future. What matters right now is today. So, guys, kick your shoes off, ladies. Put your purses away, guys. Put your walls away. There's not a doggone thing to buy tonight, okay? But I promise you this. There's a saying that says, when the student arrives, the teacher will appear. What that means is that you have to be open. You have to be willing to accept information and then intelligently dissect that information, not based off your assumptions, what you've learned, what you haven't been taught, or what you assume, in order to process it and come out with what's called common sense. I have a saying that says that common sense isn't always common, okay? And what I mean by that is just because you haven't been taught something doesn't mean that it's got to be some sort of myth or scam. So here's what I want to do. Here's what we're going to do. I truly believe that when we talk about taxes, I know after 24 years of being a tax preparer, I know after being a tax code for 23 years, I've got clients that earn income anywhere from $30,000 a year to a emergency room doctor that earns $375,000 a year. Okay, and unfortunately, guys, here's the truth. It doesn't matter how much money you make. Some of you have tried this. You've gotten better jobs, and you're not in a better situation because financial education is not taught in school. And so I believe that you can't feed a baby a steak, especially when it comes to the IRS and the tax code. You know why? Because subconsciously, you have been taught to be in fear of the IRS. I say subconsciously because it's not taught in school, it's not taught in church, and typically it's not taught around your dinner table. You have been a prisoner subconsciously in your mind, a victim because of other people's circumstances that you never got the total truth of. What do I mean by that? I often hear people complain to me about the amount of money that they lose in taxes, or they got audited by the IRS and had to pay taxes and a penalty. And what I found out about all of these situations, was the individual that had to pay the additional taxes and a penalty was trying to manipulate the system opposed to get educated about the system. So they went into their job and they filled out this little form over here to the right side of the screen, this W-4 form. Let me make sure, I think you guys are on the same page I am. Yes. And so they go and they fill out this W-4 form. And what is this W-4 form? Well, let's take the opportunity to evaluate it for a minute, because you got to take baby steps. Because when that light bulb comes on in your head and you have that aha moment that you've been bamboozled. You have been bamboozled. The Bible says, my people are destroyed by the lack of knowledge. It doesn't say my people are destroyed by the lack of money. It says my people are destroyed by the lack of knowledge. And so we kind of listen to people that are more screwed up than we are. Another saying I like from a gentleman, Mr. John Addison, never take advice from anyone more screwed up than you are. What does that mean? Well, if you're in a situation and maybe you're losing a lot of money in taxes, or maybe you find yourself in trouble with the IRS, or you're owing a lot of money and not able to file your taxes, and you fell behind, and the person you're asking for advice is in that same boat, you shouldn't be taking their advice. And so this form right here is the 2017 W-4 form, okay? Now, before I go into this form, I want to go back really quick. Let me go back, okay? And so when I click on the W-4 form, let me turn my phone down here. Let's look at, I'm going to turn my phone down here. Let's look at a couple of things, but there's something I wanted to, I really wanted to expose this. So let me see, because it looks like the IRS made a change. When you go here, it's going directly to the PDF. So I'm good with that. So let's take a look at this form really quick. And Yasin, can you see that on your screen?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I think
I can see it. You can move that the
picture here.
Yeah, move that to the side there, I guess. I mean, I guess you can leave it up there. You can just minimize or put it to the bottom there so it doesn't cover up. Yeah, slide it all the way down to the bottom where the people go off the screen, all the way down to the bottom.
I'm going to slide it right there because nothing on that side is going to be pertinent. So okay. I think
yeah.
I'll highlight where I'm at. Okay. And so this form is called a W-4 form. This is your license agreement. This is your license agreement. This is your last will and testament, if you would, your financial last will and testament. And don't nobody steal that because I got to use that about 10 times before anybody else can post that, okay? This is your financial last will and testament that you fill out and you give to your employer. This tells your employer how much of your money to take. The IRS doesn't tell your employer how much of your money to take. You tell your employer how much of your money to take. So let's look at this really quick because we're in fear of something that is not really in control. We're the ones that are in control. And so this form is also called a personal allowance worksheet. Okay, I'm going to point some things out here for you, okay? Now, we're not going to spend a lot of time on filling this out. You guys can go to the IRS website and pull it up yourselves. But I want to show you a few things, okay? I'm just going to go down here. And you see right here where it says to separate here and give Form W-4 to your employer. Keep the top part for your records. Well, what are the top parts? So let's look at this really quick. And so it says go ahead and enter 1 for yourself. So if we enter 1 right there, then that'll give you 1 on line A right there, okay? And it says enter 1 if you're single and have only 1 job, or you're married and have only 1 job and your spouse doesn't work, okay? Or your wages from a second job or your spouse's wages or the total of both are not more than $1,500. So we'll, for illustration purposes, we'll say that 1 goes here as well. Okay. Now the next one says here to go ahead and enter 1 for your spouse. So we're going to go ahead and enter 1 right here on line C if you're married. Okay. So now we have 3. Now it says enter the number amount of dependents. Now I want to point something out here. If you look at this form, there's something very particular about it. If you look at the font on this form, you'll notice that there's some words that are in regular font, and then there's some words that are in bold font all throughout this form. And a friend of mine told me years ago, he says, the bold print give it, and the fine print take it away. Okay, so we'll just have to remember that, okay? So as we go through this, you'll realize that this is the same throughout this entire form. Okay, how many dependents? This is the amount of children. For this case, we're going to say there's three. 3 children. Okay, so if we add this up, we have 1, 2, 3, and plus 3 more is 6. And so we come down here to line H, and it says add lines A through G and enter the total here. And so we know that that total is 6. So we're going to put 6 right there. Now, I want to pose a question to you. And Yasin, you can answer this question. If I was going to sell you a car, and it was a 2-page contract to all of the agreements about the car, which page on that 2-page contract do you believe you would sign your name?
Page 2.
Obviously, you want to read the whole contract.
Right.
And so let's read what it says here. And so it says separate here and give form W-4 to your employer. So you come down here and you populate your first name, last name right here, right? And you populate your address here. You put your social security number over here. You check whether or not you're married, and we're going to say this person's married. You put your city, town, and state right here. And then it says right here on line 5, it says total number of allowances you are claiming from line H. Well, remember, line H was right here, 6, right? Total number of allowances, not dependents. I've met so many people that think when they fill this form out that they're claiming, oh, I'm going married and 9. Married and 9 what? Married and 9 dependents. No, that's not what it asks you here. It says the total number of allowances you are claiming from line H, or, see that word or is very sneaky. See, in school we had to go to reading and comprehension. But the problem is most of us don't take the time to really read. We want everything instant, like instant, right? We put a hot pocket in the microwave and we stop it at 1 minute and 55 seconds. We can't wait. And so the reality is that the elite wealthy has figured out that traditional slave concept of not teaching a slave how to read. Now, this is just my analogy, okay? Now, I'm not saying that someone sat down in a room and this is the way that they thought. But if you look at what I'm telling you, you might sit back and ask yourself a question, why? Okay? So it says the total number of allowances you are claiming from line H above, or, you see how H and or are in very bold letters compared to the rest of the font? Or, see, or changed the whole deal. Or means there's something else to it. From the applicable worksheet on page 2. Here's where I want to stop and ask you a question. Is this manipulation? Or is this a way to trick someone by putting the information right in their face, but trick them in a way that they don't even know that they've been tricked? So you said to me, enter the total of allowances that you are claiming on line H above, right there. The piece of paper that you're going to keep, says it right here, keep the top portion for your records, don't give it to anybody. Or from the applicable worksheet on page 2. But I've already completed this form by putting my first name, last name, social security number, address, checked I was married, and I came down here and I signed this form under penalty and perjury. I declare that I have examined this certificate. This certificate. Didn't say this document. This certificate. This certified that Mark Hires have read this entire form. But I have it because you had me fill out the top portion. You told me to tear it off and give it or keep it for my records. You told me to fill out all of my pertinent information right here. And you told me to sign my name under penalty and perjury because you know what? Maybe I didn't realize that there was a page 2. And I'm not done yet. And so if you come down here to page 1, you'll see this big bold sentence that says, for Privacy Act and paperwork reduction, Act notice, see page 2. But I thought we were done already. I mean, obviously we're done, right? We filled out our pertinent information, we signed it, and even at the top of here, it says to separate here and give W-4 to your employer. And you keep the top section for yourself. I'm done. Let's go take a look at page 2. And so page 2 said, and again, here we are, bold letters.
I'm in a live meeting.
Deductions and adjustments worksheet. It says use this worksheet only if you plan to itemize deductions or claim certain credits or adjustments to your income. Use this worksheet only if you have been informed. Use this worksheet only if you have been so blessed to be moved from the uninformed side to the informed side. Use this worksheet only if you have discovered the key off the plantation of taxation. Only use this form if you are no longer being destroyed from the lack of knowledge. And so it says use this worksheet only if you plan to itemize deduction or claim certain credits or adjustments to income. Enter an estimate. Now this is for my business owners. We're not going to get too deep into this, but I want you to hear what the IRS is telling you, what the people that you've been in fear of is telling you, and not what you're telling yourself. Because you can't teach yourself. Too many times we want to sit back and analyze. You can't have a financial, educational conversation with yourself about something you've never learned. And we talk ourselves right out of an opportunity. Oh, that can't be for me. Enter an estimate of your 2017 itemized deductions. Okay? If you didn't learn nothing else from this presentation, these 2 words right here will set you financially free. Itemized deductions. Okay? Now watch this. And I like to poll the people on the platform you got over there, Yasin, with this question. It says these include qualifying home mortgage interest. Remember, this is a W-4 form. This is your last financial will and testament you hand to your employer before you get your paycheck. You say, this is how much of my money from my labor I want you to take from me. You are in the driver's seat, okay? These include qualifying home mortgage interest, charitable contribution. Remember this word, estimate. You don't need to know the exact amount. In fact, you get to choose. These include qualifying home mortgage interest. Out of 24 years, I've never had a client that realized that they should be claiming their estimated mortgage interest they're going to pay for the rest of the year right now on their W-4 and putting that money in their pocket, not waiting 13 months for a refund. That'll hit about 3 o'clock in the morning. These include qualifying home mortgage interest, charitable contributions, state and local taxes. Wait a minute, Mark, are you telling me that I can write off taxes on my tax return? How does that work? Medical expenses in excess of 10% of your income and miscellaneous. Where's my business owner at? Miscellaneous deduction, light bill, water bill, gas bill, rent, driving my AKA mobile, AKA gold producing mobile ATM machine, traveling the world to talk about business. Guys, you have been in the driver's seat the entire time. But as the Bible says, my people perish by lack of knowledge. Okay, so to further this conversation, I want to read an article to you. I saw this article in 2012, and it just blew my mind because it's all up in our face. And then we're going to these jobs and we're complaining about the amount of money we're losing. We're complaining about the amount of money we're not earning. And you have the power to generate unlimited amounts of income if you would just get out of the way and become the student. Now, unfortunately, there's not a lot of people teaching what you learned tonight. So let me, then this is from ABC News, so this is not Mark Myers. And it says, big paychecks, tiny tax burdens. How 21,000 wealthy Americans avoided paying income taxes. Why is it so important for the wealthy to figure out how not to pay income taxes, yet the poor and middle class struggle? Why is it that the wealthy can make billions of dollars and pay zero federal and zero state taxes, and the poor and middle class sit back and complain about it, and they make $30,000, $40,000, and they're paying, anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000? There's something wrong with that, and what's wrong is the information. So let's read this article real quick. It says the richest woman in Wisconsin, Diane Hendricks, is worth an estimated $2.8 billion. That's what it be. But she did not pay a dime in state income taxes in 2010. This was reported by the Milwaukee Journal. Because of a change in how her company, ABC Supply Inc., the country's largest distributor of roofing, windows, and sidings, is structured, Hendrick reduced her personal state income tax burden from $2.3 million. Look, I'm offended that the state wants $2.3 million anybody money anyway. But anyway, that's, we don't get to make the rules. We just get to play by them. Burden from $2.3 million in 2009 to zero in 2010, according to records from the State Department of Revenue's released to the Journal Sentinel. See, this didn't come from my cousin and them. This didn't come from my brother and them. This didn't come from the assumption. This came from the Department of Revenue. It said, now this is what you got to get, okay? I'm looking for my home-based business owner. I'm looking for my entrepreneurs. It says, while a tweak, while a change, while a shift in what she was doing in ABC's corporate structure allowed the CEO to get out of state income taxes, a complex web of deductions. I told you guys to remember these two words right there. A complex, a untaught web of deductions and exemptions in the federal tax code have allowed more than 20,000 wealthy tax filers to get off the hook and paying federal income taxes, period. A recent IRS report showed that 20,752 households that reported earnings more than $200,000 in 2009 paid no federal income taxes, and about 1,500 of those tax-free Americans were millionaires. The Bible says, my people perish by lack of knowledge. Oh, and that's got to be for those rich people. Well, who said that you can't be rich? See, we spend so much time focused on things that don't matter, and it's all in our face. So let's read a little bit more in this article, because they put it right in your face. It says, so how does someone in the top 3% of American income earners finagle, they're using those loopholes, finagle their income tax burden down to zero? For the majority of them, it's all about donating to charity, investing in local and state governments, earning money overseas, and writing off doctor bills. Okay, now that has nothing to do with us entrepreneurs. All right, let me pull up one more article real quick. I love this one right here. These are my great friends over at Facebook. And let me see if I can pull this up.
It's tax season, and while many of us may have to pay up this year, the social media site Facebook is reportedly getting a ton of cash back from the government Peter Ducey, live with the details now. Peter? And Doug, folks all around the world use Facebook for free, but that company still manages to make a lot of money, about $1.1 billion in profit just last year, just here in the United States. And they didn't pay any federal income tax or state income tax in 2012. In fact, they'll get a refund of $429 million because of one tax deduction for executive stock options.
Employees cash in the stock options, and at that point, there's a tax deduction for the company, because even though it didn't cost Facebook a nickel, the government treats it as wages, and they get a deduction for it.
Just this week, President Obama said Congress should get rid of tax breaks like this one.
Save hundreds of billions of dollars by getting rid of tax loopholes and deductions for the well-off and the well-connected.
President Obama has benefited tremendously from his popularity on social media, and tax experts say that might be why he lets Facebook get away with billion-dollar tax breaks like this one.
The president certainly has a double standard when it comes to picking out examples that help him advance his policy agenda. He often points to oil and gas companies as taking questionable deductions, which are perfectly legal under the law, but he leaves out other companies like Facebook that pay low effective tax rates, but doesn't go after, again, which are perfectly legal and justified deductions, but doesn't point them out and doesn't make them example in the same way he does an industry like oil and gas.
All in all, Facebook got about a $1 billion tax break in 2012, and they carried over $2.2 billion in breaks to use in future years. So far, Facebook spokesperson has declined comment about the big tax breaks. Doug?
Okay, now
It's
come on.
tax season then.
Now come on. Now, whew, $1.2 billion in profit. Zero federal and state taxes. Carried forward, $1.2 billion in additional tax deduction. See, we keep hearing this word, and for many of us, it really doesn't carry a lot of weight, because we've been operating on the wrong side of the tax code, because we've never been taught that there was a wrong side or a right side of the tax code. And so if you just take the opportunity and just become a student, what you will learn is that what you may have thought to be true may turn out not to be true. And so we've been able to free families off what we always call the plantation of taxation. My wife and I were dedicated to changing lives through financial education. We don't believe that people should be running around committing financial suicide. We don't believe that people should be running around trying to manipulate their taxes. You know, if you had the opportunity to reduce your taxes by 50% or 100%, just by driving a nicer car, living in a nicer neighborhood, sending your kids to nicer schools, traveling more, going out to the finest restaurants, and enjoying your life, would you do it? Would you do it? Well, that's why the wealthy is golfing on the golf course on Wednesday, while many poor and middle class people are in the cubicle building someone else's dream. So, you know, that was a lot of information based on that one question. And that's why you can't cover this information in 30 minutes, 45 minutes. But what I hope people took from this is this. You have the ability, you have the power to control how much of your hard-earned money that you keep in your pocket. And if you're a part of, you know, this great opportunity that we're part of, where the product is money, and you could mingle all of what the IRS has allowed us to do, financial freedom will never elude you ever again. All right, Yasin, so that's, brother, I think that's enough to keep people up tonight.
Yeah, I believe you're right. And, you know, one of the points I want to make, it was interesting. I looked up the definition of finagle, right? Noticing that, you know, social engineering is one of those things that they do. They want to make you feel guilty about something that the rich and famous do all the time. But you're going to feel guilty about it. And to finagle means to obtain something by devious or dishonest means, to act in a devious or dishonest manner. Okay, so they even though it's legal, They want you to think, even though it's, as you say, legal, ethical, and moral, to do this. Because one, it's not breaking the law, it's legal. Two, it's ethical and it's moral. What do I want? I'm working for my family. I want to create wealth. I want to get to the point where I can have something to pass on to my family and that they can learn that system. But the thing is this, is that as long as the people think that there's something wrong with this, I can't do that. I mean, this is not the Wesley Snipes type of thing, you know. We're not talking about that. We're talking about staying within the law and using it in our favor. And what do you have to do in order to do that? And as Mark says, you can't do this in a 30 or 45 minute or an hour session. No, this is a re-education process that will have to go on over the next days, weeks, months, and maybe even years for some of us, because we're so deeply steeped into a system and we believe that it is right, but we're actually cheating ourselves out of having wealth and living well in this life and being able to pass on wealth rather than debt as a legacy to our children, and to teach them how to build wealth and continue to pass it on as the rich and do all the time. And they build wealth generationally. And as Mr. Delco once talked about patrimonial wealth and the importance of that. And when children are born, they already have a silver spoon or some a gold spoon in their mouths. So I hope that everyone really gained a lot of benefit from this tonight. I hope, as he was saying, that it keeps some of you up thinking and about the things that were revealed tonight. And believe me, that's not even the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more if we need to delve deeper into this. And so what we'd like to do is to have everyone really reach out and become and put yourself in a position to get more information. We're looking forward to be able to do these financial educational workshops along the line or repeatedly, a series of them. And we're also one of the things we didn't even get into tonight to any depth, and that is that how can a home-based business, a part-time home-based business that you're working with the profit intent, can free up and allow you to take advantage of all of the same benefits that the rich, the wealthy take advantage of every day, and then put yourself in a position where you don't have to pay. And I want you to look at that W-2 that you got from the 2016 and see what you paid in taxes. And just imagine that if you could have kept 50, 60, 80% or more of that in your pocket, what you could have done with it and what it could do for you and your family in terms of making your dreams come true. And one of the things that Mr. Pius talked about is that, they're sitting in a cubicle or you're sitting wherever you are, behind the wheel of a vehicle or whatever the case might be, but you're working to make someone else's dream come true. And what we have is a system that will allow you to take that linear wealth. That means the wealth that money, that income, that linear income that you have to work for. You work, you get paid. You don't work, you don't get paid. But how you take that and piece by piece, slowly put it into a system that will build a residual income for you, and then at some point, depending on how hard you work it, how much you have to move over into that income stream of creating residual income, at some point it will equal, and you will be able to fire your boss, as Mr. Delco was able to do. He says in 103 days, he was able to say, "Hey, boss, that's it. I got this. I am free now," because really, all of us are slaves. I was listening to Bloomberg just yesterday, and they said that doctors, rookie doctors, these interns, now they can work them 24 hours a day with no scheduled breaks or anything. 24 hours. Look it up. They're among the most, and I think that Mr. Pyers referred earlier to one of his doctor clients who makes over $300,000 a year, and I believe he pays a third of his money in taxes, not to mention what he's paying for insurance and other things, and not to mention that he has, because of that, his schedule, his family has suffered rather than being able to build a strong family, rather than being able to build wealth and for his family. He has destroyed his family, and literally he's at a point now, and this is not just a person, an individual, this is a whole system that is created that we're all pretty much working until we die. If you don't learn to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. And I'll say one more thing in closing in terms of the points that I'd like to make. I was on a project just about a month and a half ago for a company, a health company, doing some work for them. I'm an IT engineer, so I'm up there working, and there's a lady. She is, I don't know how old she was, but I think she was into her 70s. She's still working, and she's walking with a walker down the hall. And I came in, I'm behind her because it's a narrow hallway. I couldn't pass her, so I'm walking behind her. And I heard her grunting with every step she took. I went to the desk that I had been assigned while I was working, and I just put my head in my hands because it hurt me. It hurt me to see people who are in the twilight of their lives and should be enjoying their lives, that she has to work. And it was painful, and I didn't even know the lady's name. I didn't even see her face. But just the thought that was her condition was painful to me. And so the thing is that we want to save, and I'm sure you want to save yourself and your family from such a condition. And we have a system here, and we will go on and we'll have further. And I want you to look up Mr. Pius' videos and go to his channel and subscribe. And I'll tell you something. There you will get an education. You will get an education repeatedly. And I thank you, Mr. Pius. I really do. I really consider you a great friend, business partner, and I'm so happy that you were able to do this tonight because I learned a lot over the last 6 or 8 months in just watching you on your live streams and looking at your videos. It has been a powerful lesson that I've been taught, and I've been trying to share it. And so that's pretty much all I have to say. I like to close it out from my side, at least, and say that I want everyone to really give this some thought and to go to both of our pages and like and share, and friend us so that you can receive the future broadcasts, live streams, and get notices so that you can continue to benefit from the financial educational workshops that we hope to be continuing with in the future, not too near future. We're going to set these up as a schedule.
So Yasin, before we close it out, I want to, because I believe again, and I have to hammer this home, and we didn't get into really focusing on the tremendous benefits of what we're sharing and how that relates to a home-based business. And the reason why I think that's not important yet, the baby's not ready to go from baby food to table food if they're watching this. They got to get rid of that roadblock in their mind and be in fear that, somebody's going to go to jail. And so, all of the information that we've shared from the IRS website or articles that relates to the IRS website or back to the IRS themselves. But still, for some reason, I've learned that people cannot get this gridlock off of their brain. And, we're not here to try to convince anyone, but just try to educate them. And I don't know a better platform to educate people from than the source itself, the IRS. But I want to play this short video briefly. And I thought it was just mind-blowing that you listen to this senator say all of what we said, all of what we read, and the title of this is Paying Income Taxes in America Isn't Voluntary. And I love the way that Senator Reid explains this. So I'm going to let this play for a minute, and I'll stop it at the point that I think is vital to people understanding the power and the need to have a home-based business. If you don't have a home-based business, I didn't say a brick and mortar business. I didn't say a traditional business. I didn't say a franchise business. If you do not have a home-based business, you're committing financial suicide. And for many of you don't even realize it, but you feel the pain. So let me play this really quick, and then we can close this out.
Trying to argue that governmental action is not forceful, Senator Harry Reid claimed that income taxes are voluntary. If the government is in the business of forcefully taking money from some people in order to provide welfare benefits to others, how will the people whose money is being taken feel about the government?
Well, I don't accept your phraseology. I don't think we force people.
Taxation is not forceful?
Well, no.
It's voluntary?
In fact, quite to the contrary. Our system of government is a voluntary tax system.
Oh, if you don't want to pay your taxes, you don't have to?
Of course you have to pay your taxes. But
well, the government will force you to pay, or they'll fine you or imprison you.
We have a voluntary system. The fact of the matter is that if when you pay your taxes, you see, in many other countries it's not voluntary. For example, in many countries, the government makes sure that your employer takes out every penny. Many countries don't file an income tax return.
We have withholding here too, don't we?
Pardon me?
Withholding?
There's some programs, yes, but I'm talking about in some countries, European countries as an example, you don't file an income tax return. There is no need to, because your employer takes all the money out. That's the difference between a voluntary and an involuntary system. You can't cheat and not pay your taxes.
Right.
But I don't accept your phraseology that you forcibly take money from somebody else and give it to that's the way it is on any program. I mean, the highway program is the same. We take money, we forcibly take money in your phraseology,
but
and put people in the army.
Can the taxpayer decide not to pay his taxes if he wants?
He can not pay his taxes.
What will happen?
He's subject to civil and criminal penalties.
They'll put him in jail. They use force against him. He pays. Everybody pays taxes under threat of jail or fine, under threat of force. In other words, you are forced to pay your taxes, whether you fill out your form voluntarily or whether it's withheld by your employer. You don't have a choice on whether you can pay taxes that are going to be used for welfare programs. You can't make that choice.
Well, but the reason our system is called a voluntary tax system, and I recognize, that.
Okay, this is the part I want you guys to listen very closely to what Mr. Senator Reid is about to explain. Because the gentleman that is challenging him obviously is uninformed of the tax code. And Mr. Reid is about to explain why taxes are voluntary. Listen very closely.
Ultimately, you can't cheat in your taxes. But we have many provisions in the law they don't have in most countries. We have deductibility for home, interest on mortgage payments. They don't have that in most countries. We have deductibility for certain excessive expenses as it relates to health, doctors, hospitals. We have all kinds of tax. Some people call them loopholes, but others would call them incentives for people to do business. And that's...
Okay, right there.
Incentive.
Hold on, right there. I want you to listen to what he calls it. See, because the poor and the uninformed calls it loopholes. I want Senator Reid to tell you what it is when you get started in a home-based business. Let's listen again.
This would call them incentives for people to do business, and that's why you're not forced to pay certain tax. There are ways if you decide to buy a home.
You can decide not to pay taxes in the United States?
I really don't understand what you're trying to get at. The point of the matter is...
Because you objected to my phraseology. You say that the government isn't forcefully taking money from some people to provide welfare benefits to others. And in fact, That's what it's doing, because all taxation is forceful. It's backed up by physical force. If you don't pay your taxes, the government will intervene with you forcefully. So you don't have a choice. It's not voluntary. You can't decide not to pay and not suffer a consequence. If you don't pay, you go to jail.
So see, that is the ignorance that I've been trying to undo for 24 years. It's individuals like this gentleman right here. Well, everyone has to pay taxes. And if you don't pay your taxes, you're going to go to jail. You're forcibly forced to pay taxes. If you don't pay, are you telling me that someone can decide not to pay their taxes? That is not what Senator Reid said. Senator Reid said this. In our country, we have the ability to deduct certain things from our taxable income. Some people call them loopholes. We call them incentives to do business. This is why the wealthy don't operate jobs, they create jobs. The wealthy only operates platforms under a business structure. Why? Because the more money they make, the more money they keep. As the employee, the more money you make, the more money they take, because you have a minimum amount of tax deductions. Gotta get that word, and you gotta understand it. The difference between the rich and the poor is the information, but when it comes down to keeping your money, it's the amount of tax deductions. And the reason that the employee will always pay more taxes than the business owner is because the tax code is set up where the employee has a limited amount of deductions, no matter what they do. Doesn't matter. They can go make as much money as they want. They still have a limited amount of deductions. But when you look at the business side, or an employee slash an employee with a home-based business, 90% of what you already spend your money on can be converted, or percentage can be converted now into a business expense, which means that it is non-taxable. I hope I made that very clear.
Yeah, I think you did, and I hope that they really got it, and that this will cause them to do some research, and as well as to keep following up with us with these financial educational workshops, so that they can ask questions. We want, and it's good when you do your due diligence and you critically analyze the information that you're receiving, and it generates from you questions, and those questions will allow you to get answers. And those answers to that information will allow you to be able to sit back and see what's wrong and see how you can correct it. Because like you said, people say the more I make, the more they take. Yeah, that's a common saying. Everybody says it. But the reality is that if you have a home-based business and then you have those deductions and exemptions from taxes, then the more you make, the more you keep. And it's just the opposite. There are two tax systems, as you said, two tax systems. And people say, yeah, one for the rich and one for the poor. No, there's one for the W-2 worker. There's the one for those who have that linear income that they're being taxed on. And then there's a business income where in my home office and your home office, we get to deduct. I have an 800 square foot office here. 2/3 of my basement I'm using for my PGRs, and my office here is set up. Hey, it is deductible. All of the expenses related to it are deductible. So the thing in my car, you got your Kia, and I have my Honda, 57.5 cents a mile. And I try to make every trip a business trip, That's right. And so the thing is that as long as you are working your business as a business, not as a hobby, you have a profit intent, you make sure you have all of that understanding, then that becomes deductible. The meals, the trips, you can fly to France. If it's business, then you got to tell. If that's where you want to go, then you go there and you make it business. I had a friend of mine recently. He drove from Texas to D.C. 1,800 miles he drove one way. And I told him before I tried to get him to do the business, I said, you know that you left about $800-900+ on the table coming, and you're going to do the same thing going back. And 40% of that, his tax bracket, is money that you don't have. 40% you keep, and rather than paying tax on it. So there are a number of ways, and again, you're the expert, you're the SME, the subject matter expert, and that's why we asked you to come and really explain this to us, because I can rattle it off, but you can rattle it off with authority. You have 24 years in the business, and again, I learned so much from you over the past 6 or 8 months. So that's why I appreciate your sharing this with us.
Yeah, tell your friend he left $2,052 on the table when he took that trip. So,
yep.
How many times do you want to keep doing that?
Exactly.
And it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. And here's the deal, and we got to close this out. But this past 45 minutes, an hour, wasn't you and I voicing our assumptions, opinions. The information came directly from the source. And so at this point, when you get your paycheck, whether it's on a Monday or Friday or whenever you get your paycheck, here's what I want you to remember. You don't remember nothing else tonight. Or if you're watching this recording on YouTube or you're watching it on Facebook, here's what I want to leave you with. When you get that next paycheck after you traded your most valuable asset for, your time, something that you'll never get back, ever, and you will give up all of your precious items, you would give up everything if you were laying on your deathbed and you were given an opportunity to give up all of your worldly goods for another 24 hours. You would give it all up. And you trade it for money. And if you don't think it's important enough for you to do what you need to do to keep as much of your money as legally, ethically, and morally as possible, then I want you to look at that paycheck. I want you to look in the federal and the state income tax box. And if you see anything in there other than a zero, like Facebook that made $1.2 billion in old zero federal, zero state, like the richest woman in Wisconsin, Diane Hendricks, that made $2.3 billion and paid zero federal, zero state, and you're working and we're working your fingers to the bone for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, or $100,000 on paper, and you have any number in that federal or state box other than a zero, it's your fault.
Yeah, I thank you for this evening, Mr. Price. And I'm not going to hold you. I know you've been gracious with your time and certainly with your information that you've shared. And I know that also you share it from the heart. You want to help people. And that's what we're all about. And that's the beauty of the business that we're in, is that we're about helping people. It doesn't cost them anything, for the information, and it doesn't cost them anything to be part of this, and automatically, right away, to get a home-based business. And if they want to do the business, they'll get a business package. It is minor in terms of the money that they will save. They will save thousands, and some may save 10,000 or even more. So what's 150? What's 500? What's 1,000 or even $2,000 when you only have to spend that once, and you have a residual income stream, and you have the ability to leave legacy of wealth behind rather than of debt, and you have also an opportunity to share that with your family, so that they can do the same rather than generation after generation. And we've seen it. I think many of us have seen it, where one generation, they're wealthy. I visited the home of a very wealthy family. They used to be a wealthy family here in Washington, D.C. Their family owned a major hotel, had a major club, had all the big names used to come through. And they're back in the 60s and 70s. And now the hotel is no more. And I went by that family's house just yesterday. Family member, the brother of that man who, they were very wealthy. and I looked at the home, and it was in need of repair, and I thought I was at the wrong house. Honestly, I did, and it hurt me because I know they had wealth, but what happened to it? It was absorbed, eaten up, and now what's the condition of the family? I won't even go into that, but I'm just saying that we have a system where you can not only build wealth, create generational wealth, legacy wealth, but keep wealth. The income stream grows from generation to generation. So what we want to do is ask everyone, and I'll say my end, and Mr. Powers, you can close out on your end if you have anything last words to say. But what I want to say is to everyone is that don't be afraid, and as he said, taking baby steps, but at the same time, understand that we're coming up on the debt ceiling now. $20 trillion of debt. Right now, I think it's at about 19 trillion, 900 and what is it, 82 billion dollars. It might be 83 now, but they figure within the next 5 to 8 days, we're going to hit the ceiling, and they're going to have to either raise it or choose not to raise it. Of course, they're going to raise the debt ceiling. They're going to haggle over it like they did before. The U.S. credit bond rating got reduced the last time. And so what are they going to do? 941 billion. 19 trillion.
Billion, 41,730. Dude, more than we could ever pay back in a trillion years.
Right, and they're going to raise the debt ceiling, which means they're going to do what? Go into another round of quantitative easing, which means what? They're going to print more money, which means what? That the money that you have, your salaries, the money you have in savings, and those currency-based instruments that you're using, like 401ks and CDs and the like, they're going to lose value. The numbers will remain the same, but the value of those numbers, those dollars that they're based in, will be reduced, and they will keep reducing it. The more they print, the less you have, and so that's the way that works. And so that's where we're headed. On the other hand is that as you said, our product is money. It's real money. It's gold. It's 4/9 currency grade gold. That's what it is. 4/9 gold. And it goes up in value. As the dollar declines, the gold rises. And I always show people the historical value of price of gold. In the 1800s, I go back to 1792 and bring them forward. For the first 120 years or so, there was no inflation. The price of gold stayed the same within pennies. There was no inflation. And it only started after they took us off the gold standard, began in 1933. The price of gold started to rise slowly, but by 1971, when Nixon completed that removal of American from the gold standard, you just look at what happened. And that's when gold began to skyrocket in price. And it never hit over 40 bucks, $45. But after that, it just went crazy. And so we are where we are today, and the price is somewhere probably around just over 1,200 bucks. An ounce, and as this debt ceiling approaches, and we get in that, and they haggle and fight over that again, we expect the gold prices to go up again. And when they start printing money, and the value of our dollar goes down, then we're going to see again the price of gold will rise and rise and rise. And anyway, that's kind of all I have to say, and I'd like for everyone to really give it some thought. If you haven't before, then you should do it now, and possibly, if possible at all, give this some thought and change the direction in which you're going and in your understanding. That paradigm has to shift, and you have to. We're not asking you to understand. Start a home-based business tomorrow and move all your money into gold. No, you have to do it. We have 1 gram at a time. It's about 60-some bucks a week or a month, depending on how often you want to buy a gram. But start putting your money in an appreciating asset rather than an ever-depreciating currency and holding it in that. Put it in an appreciating asset. And all of the gold that I have, it's all up higher, worth more now than when I first bought it. Okay, and the dollars I have, that really just means that the dollars that I have that I'm spending have lost purchasing power. That's what it means. Gold remains, constant. the value of gold, but the price of gold changes based on the currency that you're trying to purchase it with. So anyway, we have a great opportunity for everyone. It costs you nothing to join and get started. You get a website and a free back office, and even that doesn't cost you. You pay nothing. There are no requirements to buy or sell anything ever. And there's opportunity to work it as a business and to create that residual stream while helping others to understand what you're doing. And I do it all the time. And so, Mr. Pires, let you say the last words. I want to thank you again, and I can't thank you enough because you bring a lot of benefit. One other thing before we go, I want to show everyone. This is the cash goal that has just come out. This is the beginning of the payment system, where you're actually not only able to save in gold, but you're able to spend gold and bringing up exchanges, and where you can actually spend in gold, not just save in gold. And then we have the Carrot Pay app that's coming out. And if you're familiar with Apple Pay and Google Wallet and the Samsung Pay, those sort of things, then you'll know. But the only difference is they're based on debt, and this is based on wealth, an immediate transfer of wealth. When I give you that 1 gram or that 1/10 or 6/10 of a gram, I'm transferring immediate wealth from me to you for a product or a service. And that's where we need to go. It's not going to happen overnight. When Visa and MasterCard and all those debt cards, that's what we call them. They're not credit cards. They're debt cards, because every time you swipe it, you're creating debt. Okay, so what we have is a system that's based on wealth. And it's immediate transfer of wealth. You're holding wealth. It doesn't depreciate. It appreciates. Okay, so when they started, only the rich. You couldn't fill out an application and get a MasterCard or a Visa. You had to be part of a certain type of a club. You had to have some real money. And you could only use it at places like the Ritz-Carlton and Macy's and big department stores and huge hotels and places like that. And there wasn't every corner store that you could swipe a card at. They didn't know they had no machine. There was none of that. And so now you got vendors swiping them. You got prepaid Visa cards sitting on the store in the Dollar Tree on a rack, where you can get different kinds for $1 and load them. So now they've created a system where it's a complete control of your wealth through credit or debt. And that's the system that we're on today. And we could go much further into that. There's a lot we could share with you on that. But that's for a future setting, a future session. And we're going to give you time to digest the information that you got tonight. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Mr. Pires. And we're always here to help. We're always here to inform you, to help you out. And if we don't have the information, certainly if I don't have it, I will direct you to the ones that do have it. And for sure, we have a lot of people here in our business that want to help, because that's what this is all about. It's about helping people no matter what their condition, no matter what their situation is. And even if you say, well, I don't have any money, it doesn't cost you to join. And we have an opportunity for you to earn your way to a stream of income. You can earn it through your work, but you're working for you to make your dream come true, not to make the dream of someone else who's on a golf course. As he said, in the middle of the week, they're on a golf course eating with a tax-free entertainment, a tax-free meal, and a tax-free drive, and everything. The clothes that they're wearing is tax-free. And here you are working your fingers to the bone, trying to feed your family and keep roof over head, and not able to build wealth, because the faster you make it, the more you make, the more they take. We're ready to change that equation and help you change that equation. And no money out of your pocket, with no obligation, with no concern that this is something it's not coffee, it's not vitamins, it's none of that. You don't have to worry about having a closet full of something, a product that you can't use and it has an expiration date. Hello, this product is the real money. It's gold. And I'm sure that you wouldn't get upset if you had a drawer full of gold at the end of this program. So that's all I have to say. And I thank all those who came in attendance and shared this out. And please do share the video of this with your friends and family and loved ones. And we're hoping to be able to invite all of you to the next financial educational workshop. And next time, we'd like for you to come with what we've given you today, a little more information, do a little research, and then come back and hit us with some hard questions. I think we're ready to answer the questions. We expect those questions, because if we don't hear them, then we think, well, we didn't get the information out. The information wasn't effective enough. We need to understand that you are thinking about this information, and you come back with the hard questions, with your concerns, with anything that you have. And then at the end of it all, we hope that you say, well, how do I get on? That's what we want to hear. And guess what? We help you. You'll be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. You want to save, we help you. And how? We help you out. We help you build wealth. And because when you build wealth, it helps us. And that's how this business is set up. Each one helps one. And that's how we grow, and that's how we all benefit. And I thank you very much again, Mr. Pilot. And I thank all you guys for joining. And please take this as an opportunity to free yourself and your family. And again, I'd like to remind us all of that statement of Harriet Tubman, which I love. I first heard that from Mr. Pies. I looked it up, and she made a lot of great statements. I hope that you would follow up with it. But she said, I freed 1,000 slaves, and I could have freed 1,000 more had they only known that they were slaves. And that's one of the things that it's all about: knowledge, information. And as Mr. Pies says, and I like that as well, he says, information, knowledge is power, but only if you apply it. Knowledge doesn't do you any good if you don't put it to work. All right, Mr. Price, you can take it and close it out. Close out the meeting for us if you like, and that's it.
Yeah, I had to go attend to the CFO for a moment there.
All right.
All right, that's the that's the power of having a home-based business. So, guys, I also want to think. Here's the reality. Okay, I'm sitting here in California. Yasin is sitting, and I think Maryland, and we're on the internet, and we've shared some powerful information. And for some of you, it may have been overwhelming, or may have been a lot. You might want to go back and look at the recording. But I want to tell you that it's as easy as you learning your ABCs or writing your name. It's just information untaught. And typically, most of the time, we complicate it. So I want to simplify it for you in 60 seconds. If you would like to be able to keep as much of your hard-earned money that you go to work for, legally, ethically, and morally, and it comes and the information comes directly from the IRS, the only people that you're going to have a conversation about at the end of the day. And you can learn, again, how to be able to keep as much of walk into your job tomorrow, walk into your job on Monday, and legally give yourself an instant pay raise. And that information comes directly from the IRS. And the only thing that you have to do is change what you are already doing and put it in another category called a business, self-employment. We didn't really get into the meat and potatoes of it, but it's that simple. And so this is how simple it is. If tomorrow you decide to drag a table out in front of your home and run down to your local grocery store and grab some frozen lemonade and come home and make the lemonade and take your son or daughter or your wife in front of your home and put out a sign that says 25 cents a cup, the IRS says that you are in business. And that income opens up Fortune 500 tax deductions. So the drive to the grocery store to get the frozen lemonade is a tax write-off at 55 cents per mile. The cost of the lemonade that you purchase is 100% tax write-off for whatever the amount was you purchased. The drive back to your home is a tax deduction under business miles driving back to your home. And every sale that you make of a glass of lemonade is called business income. And you must report that on your taxes. But if you got what I said, when you went to get the lemonade, and when you purchased the lemonade, and you drove back, all of those are the deductions to eliminate the amount of money that you sold in lemonade, which means the money that you sold is tax-free. I can't make it any more simple than that. I can't make it any more simple than that. That's business. Tax deductions, we talked about it. We heard it on multiple platforms tonight. We heard it on the IRS website. We heard it on the article with the lady in Wisconsin. We heard it from Senator Reid. Tax deductions eliminates the taxes on your income. The problem that the employee has is the biggest tax deduction that you will ever have is the mortgage interest that you give to the bank. And if you don't have a home that you're paying thousands of dollars in mortgage interest, you don't have any tax deductions on the employee side. That might hit you about 4 o'clock in the morning, right before that snooze alarm goes off. So guys, with that being said, I want to encourage each and every one of you that joined us tonight, or if you're watching this video in this recording stage on Facebook or YouTube, get back with the person that shared it with you. Don't look up Mark Pyers and come to join my business because you think that I'm going to, I want to work with him. Get back with the person that shared it with you. We're one team helping each other achieve financial freedom. And so tonight, you guys are being out blessed with this information. It is just my hope that you apply it, that you don't join the nation of procrastination, that you don't no longer sit on the sideline and complain about what you don't have, on the amount of money that you lose, and on the fact that you haven't filed your taxes in several years. Look, guys, I see behind the closed doors of hundreds of people. I know the dirty laundry. And all I'm saying is, if you bring the dirty laundry to the laundry mat, you can get it clean. There is no need to be in fear of what you guys are learning. The only fear that you have in that is new information being taught. And so again, I leave with that quote that the Bible says that my people are destroyed by the lack of knowledge. Are you being destroyed because of what you do not know? Because as Yasin said, the more you know, the less you owe. But the less you know, the more you owe in taxes. Taxes is not a bad thing. You will pay taxes for the rest of your life. Every time that you go to the gas pump, every time that you go to the grocery store, every time that you pay your cell phone bill, except that's tax deductible under the business. So just look, brother, I've had a blast. I hope people got value out of this. We should have had 10,000 people on this Facebook Live, but hopefully this will touch thousands and tens of thousands of people, because I know it doesn't matter. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how much money you make in your home-based business. I don't care how much money you make on your job. Listen to what I'm telling you. It doesn't matter. Unless you get what you learned tonight, if you don't operate on the right side of the tax code, you won't be able to keep it. So it doesn't matter whether you're a home-based business owner or an employee. An uninformed home-based business owner is nothing different than an uninformed employee. So you must understand why the rich operate businesses and they don't operate jobs. And it's not because you can make more money as a business owner than you can as an employee. Because I know a lot of employees that make a lot of money, but they don't get to keep it. So with that being said, Yasin, I'm going to turn it back over to you guys. But get back with the person that shares it with you. Get your questions answered. Get off the nation of procrastination. Get yourself off the plantation of taxation. Get yourself off the plantation being controlled and dependent on these big corporations that you don't control your job. Keep your job, but remember, you don't control it. And guys, get out of the system of debt, because you are in the driving wheel. You're steering the car. It's up to you. So that being said, brother, I want to thank you, and I'm going to say good night.
All right. Good night. Good night, everyone. And thank you for your attendance. And as you said, let's keep the ball moving. Take this information and make it actionable. Thank you, Mr. Pires. I appreciate it. We'll talk again.
All right. Good night.
Good night.